are able to serve our customers. With regard to property transfers, there's a few. One is the transfer of Navy laterals at Murray Road. We're still waiting for those documents to go through the real estate office at the Navy. And then there is the ASORP tunnel, the Maui well into Mooning. That's at the bottom of the page. That one is still pending inspection by Guam EPA. That one's going to go back to Guam first, and then we need to coordinate GWA's interest in that particular water production facility after that occurs. There are some other minor issues relating to that location, one of our ongoing projects. If it's not DOD property that we utilize, we may have to coordinate with GPA for a location if it's closer to their Harmon substation, or the Dedito substation across from the mall in that area. And there is also a request for an easement. We do have a sewer line that apparently we inherited from DOD, which is on the Marble property that they're turning into, building another facility up there. And so that request has been made. We don't know if it's going to be approved, but if it's not approved, it may require relocation of that existing sewer line to maintain service to the facilities that it is currently servicing. So that may be something that takes on additional discussion in terms of funding from DOD if they don't provide the easement. That's it for one WAM issues. There is really no change to our court order summary. We're still 98.9% complete and waiting on the completion of the additional tank work. We have several projects that are under design, which will be put out to bid. We'll complete the last of the large major new tanks, and then we just have to worry about the tank repair.
I just want to ask, do we have all our funding in ready for the remaining court order projects?
Yes, we do.
So we're
That's all 2020 bond money, and we have it, and I'm itching to get it spent.
Okay. So our next bond issuance is projected for the
So under the original plan, the original 5-year CIP that we submitted and the 5-year rate plan that we submitted, there was a bond that would be issued either in 22 or 23. Under the proposal that we've submitted on May 1st, in line with the analytical study recommendations for capital finance, we would not immediately issue a bond in 22 or 23, but we would do a commercial paper program, which would be the short-term borrowing, interest costs only, and then a takeout bond subsequent to that. So under that proposal, the takeout bond likely would not be issued until 2025. However, in order to do the commercial paper program, the borrowing, additional borrowing amount would need to be approved along with the commercial paper program prior to any borrowing that's done in 2022.
Okay. And you'd still need to, so that would still give us so that's why we need the rates to satisfy the commercial paper part. Okay, got it.
Regardless of the, whether it's commercial paper or the traditional bond structure, the rate relief is required to support the capital improvement program and
service any debt
that is needed to execute those projects.
Okay. Is there anything else? Is that it?
Not really. We have no updates for land acquisition. One piece of property that's necessary for the airport tank project is still pending approval in the probate court. So we've been following up, but they have not had any movement on that. And then the last few pages relate to the
leak repair,
and our numbers are still where they need to be with around 20 work orders open at the end of any given day.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? No? You can still ask questions at our Tuesday night meeting. Tully, you have any highlights or anything you want to tell us?
This is, as Chris, I think, mentioned earlier, we cut over to the new financial management system on May 10th. So this is going to be the last set of reports off the
Off the old one.
legacy system.
Okay.
So this is just a snapshot of our key financial indicators. Our debt service coverage slipped a little bit down to 1.31. As you were talking about our submission of the rate plan, you know, part of the reason why we need to increase our rates is to ensure that our debt service coverage stays healthy. Our cash on hand slipped about 6 days from 293 to 285. Our collection ratio month to date was 108% versus year to date of 98. Our days billed were 28 days, so 1 day less than March. And our AR days improved by 2 days. It went to 46 from 48 days. And we were able to stretch out our AP to 35 days from 34. Part of our cost containment has been to slow down our hiring. We're currently at 366. We have, I think, 24 active recruitments, but we are losing a few people this month to retirement or other separations. And then our water demand and wastewater flow for April is slightly below March, and again, I think that's primarily due to one less day of billing.
Okay.
So the next slide is just a pictorial of our revenues and expenses. This snapshot is, I think, all of it is COVID related, so we don't have any pre-COVID days, months in this. So again, I think part of the reason why our revenue has gone down is primarily partly because of the 1 day less of billings. So going to the next slide, this tries to show how our expenses are as compared to last year. If you take a look at the expenses across the board, we've decreased in all cost categories except for depreciation. And then the next slide tries to show our revenue by rate class. And if you take a look at 21 versus 20, you can see how a bigger slice of our revenues are coming from residential, and a smaller slice is coming from hotel. Our hotel is almost half of what
It used to be.
it was in the previous year. And then this is just showing demand versus
Flow.
flow versus revenues.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next slide is it shows revenues. The blue is water, the red is wastewater, and then in demand, and then the green is our revenues.
Our revenues.
So we saw a drop in December.
Wow.
And then the next slide just breaks it out into water and wastewater.
Okay.
So you by looking at the wastewater flow, you can see how that flat fixed rate for wastewater shows up. And then the next slide is just a picture of how we're doing revenues versus collections. with the purple line, our year-to-date collection ratio.
Okay. Commissioner Mtalco, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I'm curious to know when we sent out the announcement on the pay plan requirements, what are the results of that? What are you seeing as far as customers calling in to set up the payment plans?
So we haven't seen a huge increase that we would have hoped for. I believe right now we have about 260 active pay plans with the residential customers. So we're continuing to do daily outreach calls to everybody that is delinquent in their accounts in anticipation of the June 1st start date for disconnections.
We also saw about 15,000 come in from DOA for the ratepayers that applied for the utility assistance program.
$15,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a whole lot.
Commissioner Santos, yeah.
Do you remember how many
How many
ratepayers?
counts of that?
That was just the first two.
Some of them continue each month, right? They qualify to get covered each month. So I think it's almost like 40 counts.
Yeah.
40.
And we received 3 requests from them, but we're only paid on the first 2. So we have at least one more payment coming from them.
Commissioner Santos.
So this outreach program that you're doing this Friday, the GPA, what's the expectation?
So there's actually 3
There's actually
scheduled,
3.
one in Barragata on Wednesday,
Well, for tomorrow.
one on Friday, and then one next week.
Thursday's
Dedito.
Dedito. Thursday.
What is the expectation?
So we're going to
What's
have
the
customer
plan?
service reps from Power and Water at the community center in the 3 villages, north, central, south. And we're getting the word out, and anybody that needs assistance with pay plans can come in, and we'll do it right there on the spot. We'll be able to enroll them in payment plans. So as far as the expectation of how many people, we're not sure. We wanted to go out to each area of the island, just so that if people didn't want to come in to our offices or call, we wanted to try to make it easier for them. So this is just another way to try to reach out to our customers for this.
Do you feel we need to do media? I mean, like, put in the PDN and the Post?
So there are ads that are planned. So that if I don't have the dates with me, but they should have run this week, I think, and then they'll also be running next week, leading up to June 1st.
How about social media?
Social media has been out there for at least a month for both of us, and then I think we're also planning to do some radio advertising as well.
Are you getting any requests from the talk show people to come in?
We received some inquiries regarding
Yeah.
not from the
Some media.
print, but not from talk show.
You guys feel that- It's a double-edged sword, right? You go in and you're trying to give hope. Now, we've given, I think, enough notice that, June 1st is now 12 days away.
So the print media has been all over this. Today, there was an article again in the Post, so, people know. Some people, the realization will hit when they actually do get disconnected, which is a shame. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Santos.
Yeah, so
What else?
with the passage of the American Rescue Act and now that the governor has a plan, what's in it for GIO?
So we were designated as the lead agency for the low-income household water assistance program. So we have already submitted the grant application for that and participated in the webinars that were put on by the federal entity responsible for administering the funding. So the team is on board with what is required. We're on schedule with the submissions. Currently, we're waiting for feedback from them on the approval of our administration plan for this. And once that's done, the amount of funding that's available, we will be able to, or they'll identify the amount of funding that's available. And at that point, once they approve the plan, we'll be able to secure, I guess, up to 15% for administration costs.
So that's
For
the
that part.
indirect?
Yeah, the indirect. But we don't know the total amount of funding available yet, but we are actively working towards achieving, getting that program stood up.
What about any specifics on the infrastructure that you're going to be able to?
For that, we have submitted the two projects that we feel are shovel-ready, that for water and wastewater infrastructure improvements, especially for communities that were hit by COVID-19 with outbreaks. So we've submitted those numbers. The response was, I believe, to be favorable, but we don't have official word on whether whether it's one or two or of those projects, right? So we're still waiting to find out. The governor's not gotten back to us on that.
And then the last one, how about revenue loss?
The request has been made. Again, it appears to be considered favorably, but no official word yet on that.
Any amount on the revenue loss that we're going to, versus what we?
What we requested and recommended is 14.4 million.
Is that audited? Are we tying that to our audit, Tully? How did you break it out?
We compared our previous revenues, pre-COVID.
Averages, pre-COVID averages compared to
versus post.
COVID actuals. And it was, the total losses for the 13 months ending March 2021 was just a touch over 20 million. But the 14.4 million request was considered as a means to offset the rate relief that would be required and still maintain the appropriate upward movement in the rates for the period outside of 2024.
So then my last one, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman,
go
is
ahead.
Essential workers. Are we in that category? Anybody? In terms of how the American Rescue Act, you know, I mean, we are critical infrastructure. Okay, I mean,
So I would,
How-
I would say our services are critical services as they relate to the availability of federal relief funds to be used for revenue losses.
there's, okay, I'm doing this too because of our hospital, right? The definition is the essential worker, right? And the delivery for here is water. Have you, anybody checking on that to see? Because the reason why you can fit into that category will now give the agency the ability to apply for premium pay. And the premium pay is pay that the employee who qualifies under that definition can get a extra pay for the work that they so-called did. I mean, again, it's, you know, it's federal money, and if we can avail ourselves of it, I would recommend we do, because it's there.
Yeah, I don't think we've looked at that yet.
Yeah. So please, I mean, again, the whole challenge of what we're waiting for from the governor is the whole definition of an essential worker. Like, I mean, there's not gonna, I mean, the hospitals are not gonna be, I don't wanna say questioned, but then I would tend to argue that we can fit in that category.
Yeah.
To deliver water is an essential item.
Yeah.
So, somebody's gotta do some digging into the,
Okay.
I can't find anything other than, I know you can get money for revenue loss, infrastructure for water, wastewater, but I think the employee themselves might gain something if we can clearly get a definition on an essential worker.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Okay?
Yeah, check on the CDC. On CDC, I believe they have a definition for essential workers. You might want to start there, okay? Okay, anything else? You're done. Okay. No further questions? Move to adjourn? Move to adjourn. See you oh, by the way, I forgot, my mistake. I should have noted that Commissioner Sanchez is excused from this meeting.